Can you fix it?
No, not tonight.
2024 marked the end of the Sony Spider-Man Universe, aka the SSU. Suffering negative backlash from critics and fans alike, the SSU could have benefited from better acting performances, writing, and visual effects. But today at ScreenRant, we look at the one thing that plagued this franchise from the start. The SSU first started with Venom and went on to incorporate more standalone films on other Spider-Man villains like Morbius and Kraven the Hunter. In the middle, there was Madam Web, which introduced web slingers like Spider-Man from many different dimensions. However, one thing that the Sony Spider-Man universe lacked in each film was the actual presence of Spider-Man.
Knock, knock. Mr. Criminal.
Without the presence of the classic Marvel hero, the franchise lacked coherence and a unifying factor to tie together the various adventures. But even if the SSU featured a Spider-Man, it would have been ideal for the franchise to have opted for Andrew Garfield's version. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is a classic take on the character, but when plans were scrapped for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, it didn't make sense for an older Maguire to return as the wall crawler. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, on the other hand, has his own franchise building up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even though the SSU is set in a different timeline from the MCU, it does have a few connections to Holland's Spider-Man, as we could see in the Morbius after-credits scene featuring Vulture, or multiple Venom scenes that have Eddie Brock teleporting to the MCU. But these connections were futile, as introducing Holland's Spider-Man into a Sony franchise would have only made creative and legal matters more confusing. In this sense, it would have been best if Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man had a lingering presence over the SSU. After The Amazing Spider-Man 3 got cancelled, Garfield's Spider-Man fans were disappointed. The film's cancellation also ended the possibility of a Sinister Six villain team-up as teased in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. By reintroducing Garfield's version in the same timeline, the SSU would have had a unifying character, and it would have also helped in marketing the movies. Despite their creative shortcomings, projects like Morbius and Madam Web weren't that marketable in the first place because these are niche characters that only dedicated Spider-Man comic readers would care about. By actively inserting a popular Spider-Man in such movies, Sony could have tapped into a mainstream market. Alas, we never got a Spider-Man in the 6 movies of the SSU.
Why did you take it from me?
While the SSU tried doing something different in the nearly saturated superhero genre, these unconventional origin stories weren't enough to create an impact. The Venom trilogy still proved marketable, but films like Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter sadly remain some of the worst performing comic book movies of all time. If only these films had a bit of Spider-Man, Sony Spider-Man Universe could have lived up to its promise. Thanks for watching ScreenRant, and stay tuned for more Spider-Man news.